Dispatchers help callers on the worst days of their lives. For over 25 years, we've been there. A silent partner in millions of calls thanks to our redundant and diverse networks that ensure call delivery. Today, cities are bigger, traffic more congested, and the challenge is more complex. But you're never alone, because InDigital is quietly improving, implementing, and driving the next generation of 911, so you're supported in every situation. Make the switch at indigital.net.
Have you ever met a 911 professional and asked, what's the worst call you've ever taken? Well, here's your answer. I heard your last breath the night you flipped your four-wheeler. I tried to call you the day you committed suicide by driving your car into a tree. Blue face, cold to the touch. I helped you with CPR after you found your infant face down, not breathing. It messed me up. I did everything I could, but it wasn't enough. You were with me from the beginning, Grandma. 27 years later, I took the 911 call when you died. How fitting to be there for me in the beginning, and I was there for you in the end. I miss you, Grandma. I am 911. This is but a glimpse into the world of emergency dispatch. But what is it really like to answer a call during someone's nightmare? What is the impact of the first responder answering the call? Available on Amazon or where you purchase your favorite books and ebooks. Imagine listening. Your worst day is our everyday.
This is Jordan, and you're listening to the Code 7 Podcast Network.
Warning. This episode contains the 3 A's of podcasting: adult content, adult language, and awesomeness. You've been warned.
I don't remember my very first call, but I remember my first bad call. So, again, in the middle of nowhere, tiny town, and there were 2 small towns about 15 miles from each other, and a school bus had turned over, and the school bus had kids. So it was a loaded bus with minors, like little bitties, and it turned over. And so everybody was calling. Well, we're an agency that takes 1 to 2 phone calls, usually, 2 max, right? 911 calls at a time. And our system lit up, and there were 2 of us. It just happened. I don't remember if it was at shift change or what, but I remember there were 2 of us there. And but I remember not being afraid. I remember just like getting to work and doing what I knew to do. And all of the kids were okay. A couple of them went to the hospital, but there were no fatalities.
Welcome to Within the Trenches, true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them.
Hey, what's going on? This is Ricardo with the Code 7 Podcast Network, and this is Within the Trenches, true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them. This episode is sponsored by InDigital, a leader in next-gen core services, and a big shout-out to Rapid SOS for hosting the podcast here in booth 2317. We are live in the vendor hall of APCO 2025 in Baltimore, Maryland, and I am with my next guest. Now, do you want to go by Amanda or Mandi?
I go by Mandi unless I'm in trouble, and then it's Amanda.
Oh, that is amazing. I was going to say, I looked down at your badge for a moment. I was like, wait a minute. On your Facebook, it's Mandi. I know you as Mandi, so I didn't want to say the wrong thing, but we will go with Mandi because you are not in trouble right now.
Yes, only if I'm in trouble.
And you are a program specialist, correct?
Yes, now
Out of
I
Texas.
am a 911 program specialist.
Nice. That is awesome. Well, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, we've known each other here for a little while now, and finally get you on to talk and learn more about you. But first off, this isn't your first national APCO, is it?
No, this is my 3rd or 4th big conference.
All right. And how have you been enjoying it this week?
I love it. I'm blown away by the vendor hall, by the people. I love seeing all the new faces, some of the old faces.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have to ask really quick, though, in comparison to Texas, The heat yesterday, it got to about 110. I mean, I was in here, I was just watching my watch, and it hit 110. And I thought, there's no way. How is that even possible?
Let me tell you something. It makes me want to say bad words because where I'm from in Texas, there's no humidity.
Yeah.
And here, the humidity is, I don't know, 1,000%. So as soon as we got off the plane, I sucked in the air and thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. And I started melting the moment that we got here. And I haven't stopped.
Oh,
so
man.
it's horrible.
How about the hair? How's the hair?
Do you see that it's not fixed? I put a headband in and
You
called
said
it good.
that. I didn't say that. Oh,
We
hey,
just
how's it
tried
going, man?
not to go too fancy.
Well, I mean, either way, you look great.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, I don't know how I would be able to do it. Like because I was walking around and I was just sweating in my
is
head and stuff.
miserable.
Yeah. My hair does all right because I've got some product in it, right? But I'm sure if I did it, it'd probably just go poof, be all
My
messed up.
kudos to people who live in this type of humidity and how they always look put together. I need their secret.
I'm sure there's some people around here who'd be like, this is what you do. Like, you can do it this way. So it is awesome to have you here, as I said, and I want to learn some more about you. So how many years do you have in public safety total?
I am just under 25 years.
Just under 25?
Yes, I entered this industry right out of high school.
Nice.
So I have semi-retired once, and we're still kicking. We're still at it.
Okay, so if you started right out of high school, do you come from a family of public safety,
No,
or did you just?
absolutely not.
No, usually,
Yeah.
usually people are. I just jumped. Well, you know what? I say usually, but when I started, I was 19. I don't have really anyone other than my uncle, who's he's a former FBI agent. But,
Oh, wow.
And
Go big.
he's out of Texas, so yeah.
Listen, us Texans.
Go big or go home, right?
That's-
Yeah, no,
yes,
exactly. Yes. So, other than that, though, I mean, I guess my dad, he worked in the court system, so he would do translations for people
Oh,
coming
wow.
in for court cases. But he also worked with troubled youth as a gang coordinator. So, I guess in a way that was kind
it's
of
the
my,
background.
kind of my background and stuff. But for you, though, you just kind of jumped in?
Yes.
How did you even find out?
So I was looking for something to do between high school and college, and we had my family up and moved. I had grown up in the same small town my whole life. So my daddy graduated high school, and we don't know if he had a midlife crisis or what happened.
Yeah.
But halfway through my senior year, my family moved, and so my mom and my brother and sister and I stayed where we were to finish out the school year. And my dad and my mom ended up in the Texas Panhandle. And I followed them because the city of Amarillo has, not the city, but Amarillo has Amarillo College, a junior college there.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, I will follow them there. And they lived in a little town just outside of Amarillo called Panhandle. So I moved to Amarillo, and they moved to Panhandle, and I applied to Amarillo College and was accepted. And I thought, well, what am I going to do to make money? And let me rewind. When they left, I applied for the Lamesa Police Department in Lamesa, Texas. And it's a little town not too far from where I grew up. And I just needed to do that as something to make money because my family was gone. So I started there part-time, and it was a little bitty agency, and that's where I got my feet wet. That's where I started. And when my family moved not across the state, but it felt like across the state, I applied at the Amarillo Police Department, and I thought, surely I can give this a go. I knew that it was much larger, but they hired me, and I started there, and that was the beginning. That was 20-something years ago, and there's been a couple of different agencies, but here I am, and now I get to work on the other side of things, where I started as a frontline TC in a tiny agency. I worked for a little kind of small and larger agencies, and now I get to train and teach on the other side of things and be an advocate for my TCs in my area, and that's kind of a super short version of 20-something years.
Okay, so you're 18.
Yep.
You started out at this little PD,
yes,
right?
Lamesa, Texas.
So Lamesa, Texas. How many people are working at a time? And are these 8-hour, 12-hour shifts? Or
at the time, it was 1 to 2, just depending on the time of day.
Yeah.
They were dispatchers only, not jailers. And we worked, let me think, that far back. It was either 8 or 10 hours. I don't think it was 12. I don't think.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
And
okay.
I was the relief person. So I would, you're 18 and think that you're bulletproof. So my parents lived 3 hours away,
right.
And I had a little apartment, but I was the reserve or the filler in.
Mm-hmm.
So when they called, I came, right? And they would call sometimes in the middle of the night, and I would pack in the car and I would drive 3 or 4 hours to get to work because why not, right? Like,
Yeah.
I didn't even have a dog then, so why not? And that's what I did. And now looking back, I think to myself, I had no business being on the road at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning across the state. Well, what felt like across the state, but I sure did it.
So what is that like for you then as an 18-year-old? You're basically on your own at that time, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a lot of people are at 18. But I mean, like, your family isn't there. It's you,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So you're going through this and you start, I guess, jumping in training. I mean, I guess what was going on in your head when you're walking in that first day and you're seeing everything? Like, how soon did you start on phones?
Okay, so it's a tiny agency.
Yeah. They're like, uh-oh, here we go.
So I don't want to. There was no training, so to speak.
Yeah.
When I very first started, I did sit with another dispatcher.
Yeah.
But I mean, that very first shift, she was doing things and I was answering the phone. And they didn't have a high call volume, of course.
Yeah.
But it was like, okay, you're going to answer the phone and you're going to say, Lamesa Police Department. And then basically, we just did an on-the-job training. As the calls came in, we would handle them, or I would answer, she would handle the call, and then we would hang up and talk about it. So there was no CAD, nothing was digital. We hand wrote call sheets.
Yeah.
I mean, everything was there was one monitor, one screen, one keyboard. So, we're talking, it feels like back in the dark ages now,
Mandi,
compared to where we are. But there was no training. The very first day, we walked in, a call would come in, and then we would talk about it. And we could do that. Because it was 1 or 2 calls at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are taking me back completely. And that's the way I started out as well. When I started out in Central Florida, before I moved back home to Southwest Michigan, I go in that day. I found out that I got the job. And that day, I end up going in because the chief, he goes, so do you still want the job? And I said, yes. And he goes, will you start tonight? And I'm thinking, what? And he goes, you start midnight shift tonight. So I go in, I meet my trainer, he shows me everything, he takes a phone call, and then I applaud him after he takes the 911 call, because I don't know how it works, right? But I'm fascinated. And
Yes.
I remember he kind of said something to the effect of, we don't get a lot of applause in this, but thank you. And he goes, you're next. And I'm just staring at him. I was like, wait, what? And he goes, you're next.
Yep.
And I said, no. I said, wait. I said, I've only been here for like 25 minutes. And he goes, the only way you're going to learn this is just the way you said.
Yes.
Yeah, just to do it. So every phone call. So now I'm sitting there, my back is sweating.
Yes.
And I'm
He's staring at the phone. Please don't ring.
out.
Please don't ring.
And the phone rings, and it ended up being a butt dial. So I was like, thank God.
Oh, God.
The lady was so embarrassed. She's like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, no, ma'am, you're okay.
We're okay.
Because now I'm okay.
We're okay.
Yes, we are okay. Like, this is good. And I remember hanging up and still like adrenaline pumping because we never know what's going to come in, right?
Nope.
Then I turn around and I look at Harry, my trainer, and he goes, well, you got the first one down. I was like, oh my God.
Hey, if there's going to be any first call, that needs to be it.
Right.
Especially with literal on-the-job training.
Exactly. Yes. So you end up moving over to Amarillo, and now you're doing your stuff there. So what is that like? Like, what is the difference between Lamesa to now Amarillo? Like, is it night and day?
Yes,
or is there some
is.
similarities, or other than the taking the phone calls, right? But
So I went from the small, tiny agency of La Mesa.
Yeah.
I went to the City of Amarillo call center, and that was, for me, I was so naive. I did not know, not even geography, but I didn't even know terms. I didn't know what an interstate was. I didn't know what a frontage road was. I didn't know there was a difference between a farm to market and a ranch to market road. I had no idea. So God bless them for taking me on. And then all of my trainers, especially that first 6 months, I really just had one the first couple of months, but at the City of Amarillo, she took me under her wing, and not really my trainer. I made a really good friend who we're still friends to this day. She took me under her wing and was like, okay. And she explained the terminology. She explained the geography of the city and all of the things that you just take for granted when somebody new comes along, that they're just going to know the things that they should know. And when you're going from a small town girl to a quote unquote city girl, all of that is lost. There's no foundation.
Yeah.
So it was a culture shock. It was a work shock. You know, I went from being the only dispatcher in the room to being in a room full of dispatchers, a room full of personalities.
Yeah.
Yes. And I remember when I started in La Mesa, we had one patrol sergeant, and I forget how many officers, but it was one dispatcher, one patrol sergeant, handful of officers. The patrol sergeant at the time when I started, she didn't like me. She didn't like me because I was too perky, I was too happy, and she thought I was just complete fake. Because how can anybody be so happy all of the time?
Yeah.
So one Christmas, it was the first Christmas as I was a dispatcher. We had to work a lot of time together because we were both working through the holidays, skeleton crew, and she bought a puzzle for dispatch, and her and I and a couple of the other dispatchers spent the holidays putting this puzzle together. And through those interactions, through the holidays, we built a relationship. And when I left there, she was one of my best friends, and to this day we still talk.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
that is cool.
That's a benefit of a small town agency.
Yeah.
So, and then I went to the big agency. Gosh, I didn't even really know how to talk on the radio. I mean, in all intents and purposes, they're two completely different worlds. Because in a small town, and I know this now from where I work, it's not, the people are fantastic. You don't work in public safety because of the kudos. But the small towns don't have a large hiring pool to choose from. If you have an employee that isn't really up to snuff with everybody else, who doesn't know the terminology, who doesn't know how to speak on the radio, who never really found their radio ear, you can't just let them go because there's nobody else to work. You need somebody in the seat. And I know we hate saying that because we are so much more evolved now, dispatchers, but the truth of the matter is these small towns, they don't have a hiring pool. They don't have a lineup of applicants to choose from. They've got to train their quote unquote weakest link to be part of the strong chain. So there's not you can't just get rid of them. You've got to figure out how to teach them and train them and pull them along. And the truth is, most of the time, if you can get on board with deciding, hey, we're going to teach him or her to be on this level, you'll get it done. You'll figure it out.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, there's so much when you're coming in, and I think that's also why it's a good idea. Now, I didn't have this happen with me. I don't know if you had it happen with you, but I know a lot more dispatch centers are doing this where when they have someone come in, whether it be a sit-along or like right in the beginning when they're first training, playing some of these harder calls for people to hear so that they can really know what it's like, what they are getting into.
Yes.
And I've heard other people say, I don't want to scare them off. And in my mind, I'm thinking more of, no, I would want those people to know right off the bat.
Yes.
Because it'll be that moment when they go to take that first call and they freeze and someone possibly, gets hurt or they never return. They're like, I'm going to go out for a smoke break and I'll be right back. Like, all right, cool. No, never went back. They went out to get milk instead or something. Like they're not coming. And if you start it that way, with a lot of the stuff that they're going to be getting into and just be real with people. I mean, it's the same thing.
That's it. I feel like current day, we are much better than we were. But 10, 15 years ago, we were so much into and this is how I was raised, quote unquote, in the dispatch world. You eat your young, right? If you can't cut it, we're going to get rid of you as soon as we can.
Yeah.
That's not the mentality anymore, and thank goodness it's not. But yeah, we want to be real with them and honest. And what is it? Clear is kind. Clear is kind. That's how I feel now. Clear is kind. Be clear and honest and truthful and transparent to your applicants, to your trainees. Every single day, talk to them about what's going on. Don't be secretive and talk behind their back or to your supervisor about the things they're doing wrong, and then at the end of their week, slam the DOR down and be like, you sucked all week long. Well, what were you doing every single day? Not telling them.
Right.
Not letting them know what was going on.
What's going on.
Yes.
I mean, it's almost the same concept with like our callers. And what I mean by that is, what I found out during my time in dispatch is if you just be straight up real with people sometimes, it gets them to calm down as well. So just for example, you've got someone who's saying, just get them here. Right. Or, I would actually, and some people might scoff at this, but I would actually say to the caller, ma'am or sir, or whoever, the officer is not just sitting around the corner, waiting for something. Like they are coming from a few townships away. Like they're coming from a ways. They're getting there as fast as possible. Now, others might say, well, you just said, a certain amount or whatever. Like, no, it was open. It's kind of vague of how far they might be, but also saying
how a lot of agencies have in their policy that whenever a caller says, how long is it going to take? That in their policy, they're forbid to tell them anything other than like it takes as long as it takes or whatever. No, like when you're saying, be honest with them. Let them know my officer wasn't sitting there waiting on this call. He's not close, because your caller need that. They need to know it. Even if they are struggling with whatever it is going on, which they probably are, they need to know for themselves and in preparation, like what do they need to do to wait for that officer?
Right.
Yeah. If they're in a car wreck in the middle of the street and they can or move out of traffic or whatever for their well-being, why not tell them? The officer's coming from at least, I don't like to put a time on it. We don't want to do that.
Right, no time.
But you're saying.
Yeah, a few townships away. Like, they don't know what a few townships away.
They're across the
it's
county.
a ways.
It's going to be a bit.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not just down the street. So I think but it just goes back to being honest and clear and transparent with our answers. So you're saying, with our callers, with our employees, with our coworkers, with our supervisors, like all of the above. Yeah.
Right, it definitely works. Now, do you remember, like, your first call, your first 911 call, or even some of those earlier calls that you were taking back then?
I don't remember my very first call, but I remember my first bad call.
Uh-huh.
So, again, in the middle of nowhere, tiny town, and there were two small towns about 15 miles from each other, and a school bus had turned over, and the school bus had kids. So it was a loaded bus with minors, like little bitties, and it turned over. And so everybody was calling. Well, we're an agency that takes 1 to 2 phone calls, usually, 2 max, right? 911 calls at a time. And our system lit up, and there were 2 of us. It just happened. I don't remember if it was at shift change or what, but I remember there were 2 of us there. And but I remember not being afraid. I remember just like getting to work and doing what I knew to do. And all of the kids were okay. A couple of them went to the hospital, but there were no fatalities. And I remember that call. And I don't know if it's because it was the first bad call, if it's because I felt confident in handling the call.
Yeah.
I have no idea, but I remember that happened. And I remember thinking when all of that was done, in the best kind of way, like, I want to do that again,
Yeah.
I guess the adrenaline junkie part of me was like, yes, like I can do this. I can do this job confidently, successfully, and I can make a difference.
Yeah.
So it was all of the above. And, maybe once the adrenaline wore off, I might have thought about it different. I don't remember that part. But I remember that call. I remember handling in it. And I remember everybody was okay.
Yeah.
So.
Do you feel like that was the moment, or maybe a different moment? Because I ask people this all the time, because everyone has, whether it be a call or something that happened in dispatch, a moment where it just solidified the fact that they were in the place that they were supposed to be, like in this profession.
Right. I don't know if that solidified that part. I think really probably what solidified it was some point once I moved to the Amarillo Emergency. Well, back then it was Amarillo Police Department Dispatch. They weren't Consolidated Center yet.
Yeah.
But man, when I made that move and where it went from tiny to big, or what felt like big, I was a fish out of water for the first at least 6 months. I did not think, because I didn't have the knowledge. I mean, I didn't even know what an interstate was. I mean, I knew what an interstate was, but like, how do you write that? And the questions you ask, because they ask, was it, were they northbound or southbound? Directional questions for very specific locations. I didn't have that. So I went from, feeling like I was a big fish in a little pond to feeling like I shouldn't have even been in that pond, in the big pond. So I don't know. And I don't even remember the first maybe successful call I took at the city of Amarillo. But somewhere along the line, it clicked. So
I feel like, as you mentioned, where it clicked is the sweet spot. I mean, it's like between 2 and like when you hit your 3rd year is where it clicks.
Yeah.
Where you really feel like you're dialed in. Like you learn all of the stuff in the beginning, right? And you're doing it. You've got the confidence, but there's just like something in you where you're just still working towards, right? Yeah, it's still there. But those times of 2 or 3 years, 2.5, 3 years, it clicks, and you're like, bring it. Like, let's do this. Let's go. Like, you're really dialed in. And I know exactly what you mean by not just the adrenaline dump, but those moments that when you're done with a call, whether it's a call that you took on your own or with the entire team, and that you're working this big thing, and when you're done, you're like, we did that.
Yes.
Like, we did that. And I still, when I talk to some of my old coworkers at Allegan in Michigan, I tell them, like, I will randomly sometimes send them a text message, and I'll say, I just want you guys to know, and I know I've said this before to you guys, but I just want you to know that I cherish every moment that we had in dispatch together, because we went through some shit.
Yeah.
And this is stuff that no one else will ever know or understand, because we were the ones who lived that. So thank you guys for just being awesome and rocking it all the time.
Yeah. And nobody else feels that appreciation, or it's not, that's not the right word, not appreciation. Acknowledgement, I guess. I can acknowledge where you are and what you went through, and vice versa.
Yeah, exactly. So you mentioned remembering, one of the first bad calls that you have, and if you feel comfortable, what about a call that kind of sticks with you?
Okay, so I don't have a emotional, so to speak, hot call to talk about. The call to this day that just sticks with me, I think because I was a trainer for many years, and I taught the Citizens Academy. So I taught people in the community would come, and dispatch had a section, and I would always go. I would play, hot calls for them. But the one that sticks with me, and I talked about in the academy, is an elderly lady that called, and she called on 911, but it really wasn't a 911 worthy call. So for me, for her it was.
Yeah.
But she's an elderly lady who lives way out in the county by herself, and tough as nails, right? But she called because her little dog was barking like crazy, and she had gone out and she calls 911 and says, my dog's barking, and she's telling us all of the details, and I keep asking her the things that we need to know. And then she says, there's like some kind of animal out there, and her dog's barking, it's going to attack them. And then I say, okay, can you go inside and, shut yourself in until we can get there? And she says, oh no, honey, I already took care of him. And I was like, what? And she said, oh, sure. I took the shovel and I whacked him. I just cut his head off.
What?
And I thought to myself, are you kidding me? And so I'm putting the information in the call, and she sure did. And while I was talking to her on the phone, I was asking her questions about the critter that was in her backyard, and I came to the conclusion it was probably a gopher. So she had this little lady, and I'm telling you, probably late 80s, had gone outside because her little dog was barking. When most of us would stay in the house and call 911, she went outside, took her shovel, took care of the critter, and is just basically letting me know. It's not an emergency type situation. She's just letting me know what's going on. And I'm thinking to myself, this is insane. And the guys get there, and sure enough, I mean, little old lady killed the critter, dog's fine. And I imagine her just like sitting on the front porch, you know, with the little carcass beside her, petting her dog when they pull up. And I know it's crazy,
straight
but
up villain.
yes, like she's probably a widow and taking care of herself all of these years.
Right.
She has no fear, but that's what it's like. In the Texas Panhandle, we're way far away from the rest of the state of Texas. We handle our crap, right?
Yeah.
So that's what she did. But when I play this call, and it's hilarious because she sounds like a little old lady, and she just is telling me all about it. And when I played this call in the academy, it was always kind of to the effect, you never know what the next call is going to be.
Right.
So you can go from multiple car pileup on the interstate to little miss old lady who has taken, things into her own hands, and she doesn't really need anything. She's just letting you know. And it just blows. It was fun to watch the citizens in our county, their faces in that class would just, because I would go from playing, an overdose call or a multiple fatality call, something like that, to the little old lady. And it just kind of, you could see it click in their minds. You really never know what that next call. They expect us to play the hot calls. They expect us to tell them all about the horrors of what we do. And then you play that call and they're like, wait a minute. And you can see the clocks turning, like, why did she call? What does she want? Oh my gosh, she was just telling you about that. And then sure enough, and I can send or I have the pictures of the scene,
No way.
But that's the call that just sticks with me. And I don't know, I know I don't have a cold heart, but you build yourself up over the years. You build some calluses, and you cannot bring that other stuff home because you just lose yourself. And I think that's why. I think my naturally optimistic attitude and outlook on life just latches onto her and that call, because I can hold on to it, and my mental health stays in check, and
I can dig that. Yeah.
She passed away a couple of years ago, and I was actually playing that call. Yes, I was playing that call during one of my academies. And I always tell the citizens, everything that I play for you is one of our calls from our area. If you know the person, I apologize. Please don't, of course, there's some confidentiality. Don't take it out of here.
Yeah.
And somebody actually raised his hand, and he's like, oh, that's Miss So-and-so. She's my neighbor. And we had a whole conversation about her. And sure enough, she is a tough little old lady, sweet as pie.
Wow.
But yeah, she's just from a different generation, and she handles her crap.
So this whole story that you just have said, all I picture in my head, and for those who are listening to this who are younger, who have no idea, I'm picturing Granny Clampett from the Beverly Hillbillies,
Yeah.
Like her, like when she at the end, she'd be holding her arm, because waving and stuff, like walking around, and just being
her
a hard
little
ass.
rocking chair.
Yes, with the huge long double barrel, shotgun and everything. Yeah,
it's yes, that's what I think.
That's who I picture there, and So for those who are listening and everything as well, one of the things that I love about when I go to Texas, 3 or 4 times a year, is especially in Bandera, Texas, there is a sign. There's always a sign that I see that says, we don't call 911. No, I don't call 911. I am 911. And I want to buy that sign. One of these days, I'm going to buy that damn sign. But
I believe that's a theme of Texans, yes.
Yeah, along with don't mess with Texas.
It's the unsaid part, right? If you see that sign, I mean, understand everybody believes that already. If you actually see it in writing, don't screw up. Like, don't give them a reason.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you're going to know why that sign is there.
Yes, yes.
I've got a couple questions for you as we go into the wrap-up of this. This has been amazing, and I could seriously talk to you for hours. This has been so much fun. What is something that, out of your career that you've been in public safety, something that has been either rewarding or something that you're proud of in the profession?
On a selfish note, I am proud of the self-growth that I have. Whatever the word is.
Hold on, really quick, before you go on, that is not being selfish. Well, it is okay for you to be happy about the stuff that you do.
Yes,
I think that's one of the things that we need to normalize as well, is that, because here's the thing. I tell you that you did an amazing job on the call, you're most likely going to say, you know what, I was just doing my job. Thanks, or whatever. We don't want, a thank you or whatever all the time, but hearing it every so often, it feels good.
Yes.
And you were doing great things. So I don't think that that's selfish. But I'll go ahead. You can go ahead and say it that way.
Okay.
But yeah, your self-growth, please tell me.
Yes. I just, from thinking back 20 whatever years ago to that green-eyed girl that was straight out of high school, small town, didn't know anything about the world. And I have seen and heard and so many things and met so many great people and some not so great people. And I mentioned, 10 to 15 years ago, the mental health aspect of dispatch wasn't so great. We would lead our young and whatnot. And I was that person. I mean, I've never been mean, just to be clear. but I can look back and think at times when I might have considered myself a bully of sorts. And I'm ashamed of that. I'm not proud. And so I'm proud that I have come around to be able to look back and say, okay, that was definitely not the right way to behave or the right way to respond to that, whatever the situation was.
Yeah.
And so I'm super proud of that. I'm also super proud of the fact that sitting here with you today is so far outside of my comfort zone, just so you know. I never would have done this all those years ago. But when you get out of your bubble, when you start to meet other people in the industry, and you start to realize that you have friends outside of your home, your little agency, there's a whole world of dispatch / public safety outside of your agency. Start meeting people. And that's what did it for me. Like, I'm mostly proud of where I am and the friends that I have in the industry today, because I'm going to start crying because of stepping out just a little bit, And it was terrifying for me at first. And so just when you put out the Facebook post that said, hey, I'm going to be at National APCO. If you want to come sit with me for a minute, let me know. And I actually struggled with that for just a little bit. And I had to ramp myself up and be like, no, it's fine. Like, what's the worst that could happen? And so I responded to the message, and then yesterday, I mean, people that aren't here don't know, but this IP hall is crazy chaos. And I came by a couple of times, and you were interviewing somebody else, and I thought to myself, well, that's my sign. Like, it's not for me. And we were in other parts of the IP hall today, and you messaged me and like, hey, I'm over here. I'm ready to go or whatever. And so I was like, okay, put your big girl panties on and let's go. Like,
yes.
So that things like that.
Yeah.
And I still kind of consider it selfish. I mean, because it's me, right? That's the thing that I am proud of for myself, right? So. But for me, that's huge because I am an introvert, to be clear. I am an introvert, but
I wouldn't think it because
I can turn it on, but I have learned that skill. I have learned, and I have to give myself pep talks. And I think so many more of us need to understand this. We are dispatchers, which means we work probably in a small, dark room by ourselves or with a handful of people that we know and trust. And then when we get out, we don't seek social interaction by nature. So when we come to events like this and there's people everywhere, we don't seek to make those relationships because we just want to put our heads down, do what we need to do.
Right.
We might meet a couple of people, and that's how we like introverts, is groups of small people. And in something like this, it's so overwhelming. But in public safety, in the dispatch industry, you've got to have friends outside of your agency, because that's how you make connections. That's how you get information. That's how you learn about new equipment and new ways of training, is the connection. And then networking is so important. And I didn't know that all those years ago. I mean, I was in the industry 13 years before I ever went to a single conference, and it was a state conference, but that changed my world. That changed everything for me. And I don't know, that I'm super proud of that. I'm super proud. And I want everybody to know, like, get out. Like, you don't have to go from 0 to 60, but start talking to your agency next door instead of hanging up the phone and griping about how they didn't do it like you wanted them to do it. Seek out a relationship with them, or maybe not even a relationship. When you're on the phone, be friendly. And ask them a couple of questions instead of just judging the fact that they didn't do something the way you thought it should have been done.
Right.
It starts small. Start with those baby steps.
I think one of the things I love, especially because I've been traveling around teaching and stuff, is like when we break up into a discussion or we're on a break or something, and I hear someone say, "You know what's cool about this?" And I'm like, "Tell me what's cool about this," and they go, "That person over there."
Yes.
I recognized their voice, and I went over there right away and introduced myself, because we've talked to each other for years.
That's right.
Never met, and they're friends now.
Yeah.
And it's all good, and that, just like you're saying, I mean, it's good to be able to do that. I mean, when I first started doing this, our agency north of us, we met up. We had them on an episode, and I had said to them, I said, "How come you guys always answer Ottawa? How come you don't ever say your first name? Because I never know who I'm talking to. When I call back and say something, the response is always, 'Well, who did you talk to?' And I'll say,
I don't know.
They said Ottawa. I don't know." And they go, "You know what? I never noticed that." So then randomly, like months later, I end up calling and I hear, "Ottawa, this is Crystal." And I said, "Crystal?" And she goes, "Ricardo, I did it. I said my name." And I was like, "Oh my God." I was like, "No freaking way." And they're like, "Yeah, we started talking about it." And we're like, "Why don't we say our first names? Like, what the heck? Why did?" So I don't know how it happened, but I agree. It's a lot of that coming together, meeting people, and but I also get, smaller groups. A lot of people will do that as well. And to each their own. However you do it, as long as you are doing it somehow.
Yes,
getting
that's
out
so
there,
important.
learning more, because there is more out there beyond your dispatch center to learn about all the other things that are going on. Damn it, that is awesome. I love that. So the final question for you as we wrap this episode up, remind me again, your years of service.
24.
24. Okay, so 24 years. 24 years in public safety. If you could go back in time to talk to yourself at the beginning of your 24-year career, and it's not to change anything, right? Because you've gone through a bunch of stuff that have led you to where you are at today. But if you could go back and just talk to yourself, what would you tell yourself?
I think really I would just tell myself, just keep going. Just keep going. Because obviously I never quit, but I mean, there's some dark times in all of that, despite my perky attitude. But there's people. Really, I would just tell myself, keep going, but give them grace. And I don't mean the callers, right? Yeah.
There you go. I love it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. This has been so fun.
Good.
I'm so glad that I stepped out.
Yes, that is awesome. Thank you very much for everything that you do, and it's just refreshing to talk to you and hear your story and your perspective on everything. And so for those who are listening right now, if you have any comments, questions, you ever want to be a guest on the show, just simply go to links, and that's links with 2 I's, linkswith2eyes.co/IM911. Once again, it is linkswith2eyes.co/IM911. You'll find all of my information on there. You will find my email, social media, where to hear the latest episode of Within the Trenches podcast, where to hear the latest episode of the Imagine Listening podcast. There's also a link on there for the Trenches community. You can go on there. There's dispatchers from all over the world that are signed up. And we are just connecting, learning more. There are over 200 hours of free continuing education that you can find as well. All of the Dare to Be Great sessions are there in one spot for you to experience. And also, all 44 rounds of the Dispatchers Roundtable are there as well. Again, it is all free. And I do coffee chats on Monday morning. I check in on Wednesday morning. So there's a lot of different things that we're doing. Also, the Public Safety Showcase, which is a mini version of Dare to Be Great, is going to be on there. It starts next month. There's going to be 4 to 5 speakers. And then every other month, I'll have new speakers coming on, sharing new topics live and recorded for all of you to be able to go back and listen. So make sure to check that out. You'll find it all once again at linkswith2eyes.co/IM911. Big shout out to InDigital and Rapid SOS and all of the subscribers of the podcast. And this you can hear 24/7 on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, your favorite podcasting app, and withinthetrenches.net. Have a good one, everyone, and we will see you all in the next one.
Imagine listening to someone's worst day every single day. Imagine listening as someone experiences life, through their worst nightmare to the miracle of birth or a life saved. I'm Ricardo Martinez, a former 911 dispatcher, and for years I've been recording the voices of a hidden world, ours. I've provided a space for 911 dispatchers to share their powerful stories. It started as a peer support session and continues. Dispatchers sitting together, sharing out loud, or writing down what they couldn't say. Some stories will grip you. Stories of heartbreak, resilience, and calls that haunt us long after the line goes quiet. But Imagine Listening is more than heavy emotion. It's about healing. It's about laughing through the chaos, lifting each other up, and reminding the world that dispatchers are human too. The lighthearted will balance the heavy. Experience the power of storytelling, a podcast for the thin gold line and those who want to understand it. This is Imagine Listening. Your worst day is our everyday. Subscribe now wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.